Hello, Aries. This is your Homelight Security reading for all Aries signs for the month of May. Sorry that you came up being one of my last few, but I'm getting to you. Now, what I'm seeing is you have some frustration going on. What it really is, especially when you look at the astrology chart for you all, for the Aries, is you guys have a lot of materialistic stuff going on. But in here, more than actually out there, okay? So what it is, it's kind of like the unconscious is bugging you. And it's not just because of Mercury retrograde, it's the way that the planets are lined, it's the way that they're on the chart. Like I said, it's not just the eclipse, it's just kind of the position of where you're going through. It's a growth of where you're going through. You have more unconscious energies that are showing themselves in mirroring ways to you, trying to bring up your consciousness. So most likely it's the outer world reflecting on situations of inferiority that you feel within yourself, but you may not realize it, of jealousy when you're looking out at the outer world, of inadequacy, not feeling good enough, not feeling like you're heard, wanting to push and receive because you feel like otherwise you're not getting what you're trying to get out of it, which can become very belittling at the same time. But what this is you finding out different levels of foundation or foundational energy for you to kind of like clean up and then build upon as you start to move forward. Spirit is saying, look for your deeper reasoning for being. Listen to your higher soul self. Where is your purpose? What is your spark? Where is your true feelings? And Aries, you guys are really quick at explosive feelings, but not necessarily deep feelings. And that's part of what this is getting deep, getting beneath the surface and getting more real with things that are more uncomfortable to you. Learning how to spiritually communicate with yourself. Trust your intuition, trust your gut feeling, your own inner divine wisdom, and stop being inflexible in the ways of not wanting to grow. And it's not that I don't think you want to grow, you don't want to grow. It's what I'm getting is more along the line of, it's just the Aries energy. You guys are fast, quick, make decisions, go on about the next thing, and if it doesn't pan out, then you go on to the next thing. And this is more of, like I said, a deeper energy, deeper in the soul. And the inflexibility is coming from, you can't continue to do things the same way. You have to start making changes. You have to, it's like they say the definition of insanity is trying to get a different answer when you continuously do the same thing over and over again. This is kind of what I'm at. It's not saying that your character has to change, but it is saying look at character flaws that aren't working for you. Look at your deeper, slow down. Let's get deeper into the raw truths. Let's not just make an explosion decision. Like I said, Aries, you guys are full of fire, ready to go, make a decision, make your opinion, state it, blow it out of proportion, and then next, but you didn't fully solve the situation. You didn't fully dig in and understand the situation. And this is asking you to slow down and get past some of that repressed anger and stubborn frustration, because it's actually keeping you from your creative understanding. It's making you hold on to pride, which then forces you into self-judgment. Yeah, it then forces you into self-judgment or family judgment. Like I said, it's more materialistic. The world around you and how you're maybe thinking the world is feeling about you or seeing you. Because a lot of this has to do with your identity. It has to do with your self-worth, your self-value, self-esteem, which is your manifestation. But what it really is it's in your head more than the outer world. Spirit is asking you, what do you fear about finding out about yourself? Ain't nobody perfect. So just be willing to roll with the punches, take the changes, communicate what's illuminated to you. And when I say illuminated to you, I mean the truth. Because we don't always, what I'm being given is a sun energy and it's communication. But the sun isn't always a positive thing. And it can also, just like Leos can be very prideful, but that does not necessarily mean that it's a positive. It will illuminate whatever it is, the truth, whether it's good or bad. To be willing to understand that and stop holding on to the heavy. Stop letting the heavy get in your head because it's pulling you down. Anything else? Hold on. This is definitely a time for you to be more self-motivated, more self-assertive, more self-action-oriented at realizing who you are, what you want to be, where you want things to go, and really focus on that more than what you think the outer world thinks or is going to do. This is focusing on your own self-assertiveness, your own self-motivation. Now, you guys were lighting up before I came in. You're going to talk now? They're saying pay attention to your social foundations and your subconsciousness and your unconscious mind. I think what it is they're trying to say that you got more going on in your head than you might realize, and you're actually manifesting things, whether they're positive or negative, to you, because the mind communications got more going on than what you may realize, which is actually creating the manifestation. They're saying be responsible for your actions and be responsible for your own transformation and your healing. Pay attention to what you value. If it's not something that you value, it doesn't support you in the way of self-worth, self-value, self-esteem. If the value isn't helping you to lift you up, then are you really valuing it? You know? I don't know what that was. Did you see me jump then? I got pushed. They're saying this could be a rebirth of personal securities, or at least coming into a rebirth of personal securities, personal like investments in securities, like actual materialistic foundation securities, 3D, not just soulful, but they're saying it can be, if I guess you're doing this right. But if you're holding on to the negative vibrations, the bitterness, the blame, the grave sorrow, shame, the pointing the fingers, then you could actually backtrack this and be your own disappointment. Okay. They're telling you to slow down as well. Some of you, this is an inferiority with a male figure or a father figure or a judgment from a father figure. Wanting approval or wanting acceptance or wanting to be told, you know, the pat on the back. But you don't really need this. This is something you have to learn to believe in for yourself. You don't want to seek approval from outer information or outer people, because it's something you're supposed to be growing away from. It's still slow down. Stop trying to push to receive. You're trying to do things too fast. All right, let's see what the cards have to say, and then I'll get into the astrology. Sorry. I have the one phone that always shows me my astrology and everything. I came in to do it and realized it wasn't charged, so I'm having to let it sit there. I have 2 decks that are talking for you, so let's see what they have to say. Get my hair out of my mouth. What does Aries need to hear for the month of May? What do all Aries signs need to hear for the month of May? Getting a lot of throat chakra too that's coming in. This is duality. This card is finding balance. It speaks to you of tension, fear, hopelessness, but finding wholeness, finding that duality. It's learning to understand the indifference here. It shows the polarity, the isolation, the separation, yet reminds you how the oneness is, if you're coming the full circle here. Now, what else? What else does Aries need to hear? And they're saying if you're not coming into the duality here, then it's because you're still trying to push to receive. You're overpowering the intuition, because you've got too much scattered energy. Like I said, you have to slow down. Anything else for Aries? For Aries. Okay, no, we're not doing like 10 cards. Still not taking like 10 cards. A lot of this just has to do with growing out of your insecurity by facing a lot of parts of yourself, really. Stop listening to any third-party situation. What was I just saying? You can't be asking or hoping for someone else to, you know, give you the advice, to give you the acceptance, to pat you on the back and tell you that you've done good, because this is about you finding it, feeling it, securing it within yourself, and getting out of the doubt. Getting out of the doubt of where your life is taking you, where your spiritual path is taking you, where your intuition and your creative nature is taking you. It's teaching you to trust yourself, to come into a higher level. Is there anything else here? And then I'm going to switch decks. Anything else? They're saying you've got to learn to shift your perception, because all these cards are coming out reversed. Shift your perception of your mind into a higher thinking, a more state of creativity, a more state of illumination, a more state of imagination, and allow it to be more positive. Let's see what this other deck's going to say. Oh, it's fine. I can't make this shit up. Uranus. This is actually a deck that only I use, but from time to time it comes out for you all. This is, coming into your power, coming into your independence, your individuality, your uniqueness, your freedom, creative, inventive self. Only you can be. But this is doing it from knowing who you are, not from trying to manipulate and push and receive and force what your way. This, because that's not actually you. That's fear. So when you're trying to push and receive to make things happen, to get your way or whatever, then you're not showing your power. You're not coming into your uniqueness. You're not, truly getting to know you on the deeper level. And this is what they're talking about. Find your own personal Jupiter, your own personal abundance, your own personal higher self. It's your optimist, your generousness. But it can be excessive. It can also be wasteful. But this is speaking into coming closer to understanding and connecting with your true independence, your true source self, and allowing this to grow into. They're saying you've just had it suppressed. Just it's time to get back into the sacred spiral. Into the sacred spiral, into the consciousness, into, back into the swing of things on a spiritual, soulful nature. Your inner child, your inner creativity, your inner connection to your own source. Yeah, and then comes Pisces. So this is into your inner magic, your inner mysteriousness, your inner waters of illusion and delusion and understanding, where you are your biggest ally as well as where you are your biggest enemy. Long story short, so that you can really get to know yourself better and move on. Now let me see, when we get into this month itself, we've already had or started Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde is taking place in Gemini. Now, when I actually get into the astrology, excuse me, when I actually get into the astrology, I always start where the sun is, just so you know, and then I go all the way around the chart. And when I get here, there's going to be a little bit of funky stuff going on with this Gemini, with this Mercury and this sun energy, actually. So Mercury has gone into retrograde on the 10th. Jupiter also moved into your sign on the 10th. So your abundance is coming in, your manifestation. Your higher self has just entered. It's like Elvis has entered the building. Their higher self has entered the building and is assessing the situation. Long story short, you have the lunar eclipse on the 16th. The 20th is when the sun moves into Gemini. But on the 22nd, Mercury sweeps back into Taurus. And then you'll start to see the forward movement actually take place when Mars moves into Aries on the 24th, into its ruling sign, and Venus moves into Taurus, into its ruling sign on the 28th. So pretty much it's like the last week, things are coming forward. They're giving me greens now, which for me has to do with, a lot of radical changes, but it also has to do with healing, growth in general, whether it's physical or spiritual, in your own personal life. All right, guys, we're going to start off with your second house. And that's because, that's like I said, this is where the sun is. The sun is going to be moving into Gemini on the 20th. But on the 24th, Mercury is moving back into Taurus. So you're looking at your second and your third house right now. And they're kind of going to be going like this, getting jumbled. And what I mean by that is Mercury is in your communication house. how you hear, how you speak, what you're thinking, how the brain is acting and operating, as well as how the brain is sending the signals to the body, the motor skills, all of that. But it's also everything electronic. It's emails, text messages, anything that has to do with communication, Mercury is on top of. Mercury is retrograde, and when it's in retrograde, our communication systems tend to get a little bit more self-centered, only concerned with ourselves. It's not like it's on purpose. It's just the communication, which is what Mercury is. Communication is no longer talking outwardly. It's only overly talking to us. So the only one it can bitch to or be happy with is us. Now, your second house, though, is your self-worth, your self-value, your self-esteem. It is where the manifestation is created or taken away. It is where the law of attraction works according to how your self-worth, self-value, self-esteem is. When you feel better about yourself, it's easier to attract more in. When you feel secure, it's easier to attract more security. When you're insecure and you're jumpy about it, it's easier to bring more of that negativity to you. So your self-worth, your self-value, your self-esteem has everything to do with your independence, your individuality, your uniqueness, your freedom. It also has to do with your manifestation, but it also has to do with your money, because that has to do partially with the possessions of what the second house is. How you create and spend your money according to how good you feel about yourself and what you do. The sun is here illuminating what you do feel good about or what you don't, where you're secure and feel liberated, and where you feel ambushed, where you feel neglected, where you feel walked upon, depending on that self-worth, self-value, self-esteem, depending on the level of liberation that you are feeling. Uranus is trying to teach you how to come into the power, not manipulate the power. Trying to teach you how to come into the power, but not have to push to receive, to be heard, but to have your presence be known just because of you knowing who you are, that liberation. Now you have the North Node here trying to also, throughout this year, teach you more about understanding this on a deeper level, a soulful level. But the sun is getting ready to come out of that second house and go into the communication, illuminating even more about the communication, whether it's emails, text messages, whether it's how you look in the mirror and feel about yourself, or the communication you have with yourself about other things, or the communication as well as what you have outwardly, or what you think others are thinking. Mercury, though, in retrograde, is about to leave here and go into your self-worth, self-value, self-esteem with it in retrograde. So all of this self-worth, self-value, self-esteem, liberation, security, of the soul itself, the vessel, looking in the mirror and feeling good about yourself. This might be feeling like it's in a bit of jeopardy. You might be wanting to be nurtured. You might be wanting the pat on the back. You might be wanting somebody to tell you it's okay, even if they don't really mean it. It's like a lot of people with card readings. They'll go and keep going to another card reader until somebody tells them what they want to hear instead of what is the truth. This is about finding the security within yourself, communicating it within yourself, and knowing that you're in your power and you don't need to be somebody else's little pet to make you feel good about you. That's what this comes down to. Because I've been saying for the last 3 years in Taurus energy, self-worth, self-value, self-esteem means get in your power or somebody else will be. Somebody else will be the keys to your happiness. Somebody else will be holding, the restrictions over you as to what can happen. You don't want to be someone else's possession. You want to be your own possession. And this is asking you how to truly liberate yourself by acknowledging areas in which you don't. Acknowledging areas in which where you're seeking approval, but you don't need it. You just need to believe in you and understand how to let that go. Now that's your second and your third house. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to back up for a second because this is Aries. And what we've been talking about is the second and the third house because that's where the sun is. But your Aries, you're the first house, which is your character. It's how you see the world. It's how you see yourself, how you view the world, or how you believe the world views you as well. It is your appearance. It is your self-awareness. You're getting a big knock on the head of this self-awareness, of the true, like full Monty, full circle of what spirit sees in you versus what you are seeing of you or what you perceive you to be. So are they matching? Is there areas that aren't measuring up, or did you maybe, put yourself up higher than where you truly are measuring up to? And this is asking you to take a good reality check, a good moral check on your identity, on your character, on your appearance, but most importantly, your self-awareness. And then within that self-awareness, whether it's positive or negative, will influence how you are viewing the world around you. So this is a big morality check for you guys right now, helping you get in the right direction. Not to mention, you just had the eclipse in your second house. You're about to have the second eclipse. I believe that's in your 8th house, which is definitely a big thing on rules, walls, and boundaries for the relationships. Hold on. Oh, crap. Give me a second because I lost the image. I lost it. Come on, phone. Give me just a moment. Because I had sent it in an email and I'm going to go through all these emails. Give me a second. Alright. Yeah, the 8th house is where the solar eclipse is about to take place on the 16th. Okay, and this is saying if you have some people in your relationships, up close and personal relationships, like your spouses, your husbands, your lovers, your children, your parents, but it can be work friends, it can be friends, because anything you care about, you have a relationship with. And I say this all the time, you have a relationship with your money. And when you don't have any money, you know about that relationship. So anything you care about, you have a relationship with. Well, what's happening is because of this eclipse coming in, and because the South Node is here, it's going to be pushing all of your insecurities about yourself in these relationships. And will you stand for it? Will you be submissive in these relationships, or will you stand up without being over prideful, over Aries, aggressive fire, but could you be mentally understanding and challenged, and mentally understanding, not challenged, when you are dealing with situations of, well, what's best for me right now is this. And the proper rules, walls, and boundaries that I need within these relationships is this. Instead of aggressively coming out like a tiger, just attacking, and then being a pussycat afterwards. It's not about going back to the submissiveness. It's showing where the insecurities is pushing you to becoming that tiger. where it's pushing those insecurities, and why? And will you stand to continue to have to put up with that, is what you're looking at. Because that is part of the character that you are trying to learn to grow, of where you're secure. Like I said, you don't want to be somebody else's possession, and you definitely don't want to be the tiger that only attacks, but afterwards is like, that's kind of like a, in truth, when we look at it from that point of view, we get mad, we take it out on people, we aggressively manipulate and attack when we're upset, and then we're like, I'm sorry, I love you afterwards. And I'm not saying just you guys, Aries, but I'm like, in honesty, that's pretty much like a battered husband or wife, when they're putting up with that shit from their spouse or whatever. So it's a way, and it's funny that I feel like I'm being told to mention this. So it's saying, are you putting yourself in a situation, whether it's actually a negative to that point or not, or is it verbally a situation of acknowledging this within your relationship zone? This is pretty much a lot of what you're seeing for the month. But I jumped ahead and I skipped your 4th house. And it's important because you have Lilith in your 4th house. Lilith normally, I see Lilith normally as, a boost of fire, can be ego, but is more along the line of, well, what are you here for? What are you born for? But see, when she's in Cancer, she's the nurturer. Cancer is a mothering, nurturing, nesting energy. It's nurturing, but what happens is she gets neglective when she's in Cancer. She becomes submissive. And this is your house, your 4th house of your inner emotional security. It's the home, the soul, the vessel. It's when the person knows their soul, knows their vessel, knows that connection, that they cannot be disconnected. They know that they feel the spirit in them, that builds their security, that strengthens their roots, that strengthens their self-worth, self-value, self-esteem. But if you're submissive, and at this time, like I said, they don't want you going, well, I want the approval of someone else. No, this is about taking the approval of what you want. Because it's important for you not to be submissive right now. Because if you are, you're missing a big portion of the lesson. Now, when I get looking into, like I said, we already kind of went over the eclipse energy. But, you've had Pluto in your 9th house. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. In your 10th house for a while. And this, for years. It's been here for many, many years. But we're at the end of it. This is saying, again, finding security within yourself, finding liberation within yourself, finding adaptability within yourself, finding motivation, not motivation, assertiveness within yourself, and sticking to it. Not saying I'm going to do it and then not following through. This is all about following through. And this is saying I'm going to take the authority back within my life. And you only have a year more or less of this lesson, like a year and a half, before it's going to move into Aquarius. But in Aquarius, that's your 11th house right now, and that's where Saturn is. Again, in that relationship zone of the groups, the memberships, and the committees that you keep, that outer world work friends, are the people in your life supporting you, really, truly coming to find out who you are, and creating your goals, dreams, and ambitions, helping you know when you're also lying to yourself and full of shit, and putting you on the right track. Are you having the right people here, or just you know, good old boys, good old girls who are having fun, blah, blah, blah. But really, they don't give a fuck. And really, they don't have any goals. Really, they don't have any dreams. What are your peers? What are the people you keep? Are they helpful, soulful to you or not? Is a big portion of what you're looking at here. When you get into your 12th house, you've had, I know, a lot of emotions going on because you've had just about everybody travel through Pisces in the last 2 months. I mean, Mercury came through. Jupiter's been here all year. He just moved out a couple days ago. You had Venus come through here. You have Mars in there now. And this is your grief, sorrow, shame, blame, your insecurities, that unconscious energy of what you think and you believe, standing in your comfort zone. But your comfort zone is actually your no growth zone. It's your self-deception and your self-undoing area. And Mars doesn't take action very well here. It just takes orders from Neptune, but Neptune doesn't care if it's positive or negative if it's not influenced into a positive or negative way. So it's giving it very easy for you to go back to your old, what you're used to, what you're immune to, what, you know, is comfortable, but it's not going to help. Which brings us right back to your first and your second house. And they said it that way all the way around and bring me right back to your first and second, because like I said, Mars is going to be leaving your 12th house on the 24th of the month, going into your ruling sign, which is your sign, Aries, on the 24th, where it's going to light up and really start working with Jupiter, taking action, making movement. It's going to start making all the stagnant energy that you're consuming like a sponge right now. And it's going to start actually putting like fire, electricity, and like blow. Let's just move. We're ready to move this shit out. But it's not going to start happening until around the 24th when your ruler gets home. And then right after, in your self-worth, self-value, self-esteem, your second house, your manifestation house, your money house, is when Venus comes in, telling you how secure she really feels about this or how insecure she really feels about this. So if you get ahead of the jump when it's time to take action, you can start seeing the manifestation. Otherwise, you have to slow down, reboot, take all of this on the 24th, and then start to put it into action. You'd rather start seeing the action closer around the 24th instead of waiting a couple weeks for the manifestation to take place. So do the soulful work, and you'll see it start coming around and into fruition near the end of the month. I love you guys. Bye.